Dante Morrison, and welcome to the Dante Show. What's up, fam bam? What's up, village? Happy Monday. We're back in the house for another round of the Dante Show. It is December 14th. We are 2 weeks away from Christmas. We're in the 12th month of the year, the 9th month of the pandemic, and we have been grinding, going, and on the move nonstop. So, you know what? I'm not even about to dilly-dally. I'm going to let Dana and Joe squash this out right now. I'm going to just step back and invite folks to the show. Dana, you and Joe, go.
I don't have anything to say. I mean, we're 11-2. A loss is a loss. Okay, so do what you need to do. I don't have anything to say to Joe regarding the game. Nothing at all. We haven't played them yet. So,
Sure.
It is. I'm positive.
I just want to get this all out.
I have nothing to say. You see what I'm rocking till I die. Bury me in a black and yellow casket.
Okay. All right. So we can move on then. We can.
Oh, yes. We could. You know what? The unicorns, they just running around sprinkling fiddly dust everywhere. It's all good. I'm hey.
So what okay, so help me understand what is the so I'm assuming that your football team is not winning, Dana?
No, we're 11-2.
Okay, who's your team? The Steelers?
The Steelers. Yeah, okay. We're 11-2.
Okay.
Listen, I'm gonna say it again. 11-2.
And I'm assuming the 2 is the 2 that have been lost.
Right. Joe, please put in the Unicorns record in the chat.
Because it seemed like last Monday you and Joe had this situation. Mm-hmm. Was that when y'all were 10-1 or 11-1?
We were 11-0.
Okay, and then this week you're 11-2.
Right. So we lost 2 games, which doesn't matter. Back. Yeah, it doesn't matter because we've already clinched our playoffs. We have 6 Super Bowls. 6 Super Bowls.
Okay, now who is Joe's team? Because this is where I get confused.
They're 9-4, and we're in first place as well, Joseph.
Okay, who is Joe's team?
The Indianapolis Unicorns.
Okay, so clearly Indianapolis and Pittsburgh is what we're talking about right here. So we have these 2 teams, and your team has lost twice in a row?
Yes, we have.
Okay. All right. So if they lose a third time, does that mean anything?
It doesn't, because then we'll still be 11-3.
Okay. So has your team beat Indianapolis before?
We haven't. Oh, we've whooped their butts before, and we played them the last game of the season. So he's just pumping himself up. You know how you got to get excited. You know when you're getting ready to go get you some cutty. You be at home. Cuddy. You be at home excited, dancing with your shirt off. He's just excited.
Okay. I'm just trying to see what's going on here because I'm kind of out the loop. I've been dealing with bigger global issues as you and Joe rally about the Colts and the Steelers and black and yellow and all that kind of stuff. So, I'll let you and Joe ride this out. Now, hopefully, when we come back next week, it's not 11-3 or whatever the case may be.
But it wouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No one ever said that we cared about being undefeated.
So when do y'all play the Colts again?
I think we play them in 2 weeks.
Okay. So in 2 weeks, the week afterwards, we will see which one of y'all came out on top between the Colts and the Steelers. Clearly, it looks like a lot of this thread right now is Steeler Nation.
That's of course, Nation. Of course, yes.
I'm on some bigger global issues. So, Steve, we got Steeler Nation. What are Colts? The Colts have a nation. They got a catch.
They're called the Unicorn Universe. That's what they're called. The unicorn universe.
All right, there we go.
Unicorn universe. And when they run out, they run through fairy dust. When they come out on the field, it's just like, that Christmas silver stuff,
Glitter.
the glitter. They just when they run out on the stage, it's like they just come out like to Fame. They come out to the theme song Fame. They run out to the Fame's theme song, and it's
Okay.
just dust, peppermints, and donut sprinkles all in the stadium.
And lots of cotton candy.
Lots of cotton candy.
Got it. Okay, clear. Now I'm clear. Now I know what all this is about. Now I see. Now I see.
Yes.
So with that being said, you know what? I'm gonna bow out, Dana, and let you have your moment because it's time for the what?
It's time for the Dana drop, ladies. Boom.
Boom.
What's going on, beautiful people? It is so good to laugh. For those of y'all that are new to our village, Joe is my brother. I love him. We just go back and forth every week. So don't take us serious. That's my brother. I got his back. He got my back. Only he and I can talk about each other. Can't nobody talk about Joe to me. And I know vice versa. Can't nobody talk about me to Joe. So we're going back and forth. We're having fun. Joe loves me. I love him. For those of you all that are new. Okay. Thank you all for tuning into the Donta Show. We really appreciate you guys. We love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Again, tell a friend, share, go and like our YouTube page, please. It is youtube.com/Donta Morrison. Click subscribe, like it. We're trying to get our numbers up. We're trying to get to the next level. All right. We love you guys. Again, we love you. All right. I'm going to tell you a couple of things on how to deal with anger. Okay. This is how I deal with Joe, how to deal with anger. You have to sleep. We lost. I slept well. My phone was blowing up. My Instagram was blowing up. My Facebook was blowing up. But it's all good. So manage your mood before a incident. It's often called the pre-anger state. Getting regular healthy sleep is an important part of managing anger. Being tired makes negative experience feel worse than they would otherwise. Plus, lack of sleep diminishes activity in the frontal lobe, which is associated with impulse control. Consequently, sleep deprivation makes it harder to control your anger impulses, and you are more likely to do something you regret when you're angry. Okay, so those of you that are going out there and making moves before you think, it's probably because you're not getting sleep. Okay, sleep deprivation makes it harder to control your anger impulses, and you are more likely to do something stupid. I just added stupid in there that you will regret the next day or after it when you're angry. All right. Consider alternative interpretations. We have little control over the things that provoke us, though I will explore ways we can exert some control upon those in a later time. We can control how we interpret those provocations through consider alternative interpretations. What can you do? Maybe you can sit back and say, what that person did actually wasn't that bad for me to get myself caught up in a situation. Maybe what they said really didn't really bother me like I thought it was. Well, probably because they said what they said, it really upset me that much because it was said in front of a lot of people, or was said on a platform to where someone could screenshot and be like, ooh, such and such. So basically your feelings were hurt and you're feeling some kind of way. So now you want to go after that person, or you want to go after the situation when it really wasn't that big. So just consider alternative interpretations. Take a different approach to some of these things. I guarantee you the outcome will be greater. Now, listen, my dad once told me, let your silence be your violence. Sometimes you don't even have to respond. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything or do anything. And that's going to have them wondering, like, man, dang, Dana didn't even respond to what I said. He didn't even respond to what I did. I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what's going on in his mind. Man, I gotta watch my back now because I don't know what's going. And you ain't even caring about it, because when you give people that much energy and control over you, they know they got you. They know they got you, and they're probably somewhere laughing, kikiing, like, yeah, I got him now, or I got her now. You know what I'm saying? So, and here's another one. Take deep breaths. Sometimes the anger interpretation is correct, and you get angry. When you are angry and become psychologically aroused, your heart rate is increased, your muscles tense up. Respond by taking long, slow, deep breaths, because what'll happen is you'll be so mad, your blood pressure go up, your hypoglycemic levels go up, all of that stuff just be shooting off the Richter scale, and that person is sitting over there having them a good old kiki laughing, and you over there sick, getting ready to have a stroke, headaches, migraines, you know what I'm saying, passing out, because you're that frustrated. Sometimes you just have to let things go. Let it go. And it's okay to get mad. It's okay to get mad. I'm not saying that it's not okay to get mad. It's just your response, how you deal with it, how you go about dealing with it, how you're going to react to that situation. Again, everything does not deserve a response. Some things you just have to let it just roll off your back, and then that'll let you know where you sit in that person's situation in their life, where you fit in that person's circle. You know how to deal with that person from now on. You know how to deal with that person or those people or those situations when you get into it. Sometimes certain things happen to you to prepare you for the next situation you're going into. A lot of people don't think that way. Sometimes you're in a situation and it's preparing you for what's greater. So when you get to what's greater, you'll know how to deal with it, and you won't ass your way out of it by outlashing or responding in a way that you shouldn't have, or an unprofessional way. Because sometimes us being African Americans, we can be in professional situations, but we can sometimes respond and react unprofessionally, unknowingly. So therefore, sometimes God allows little things and little stuff to happen to you to prepare you for the greater. But you have to be open-minded and realize, hey, you know what, this little thing on this level, please. Then when you get into that situation that's great, and you deal with it, because you be like, you know what, this happened before. This is how I'm going to deal with it. So take the time to sit back and relax before you respond, because sometimes your response is not even called for. All right? Deal with your anger. Deal with the situation. Be assertive. It's okay to get upset and mad. But again, let your silence be your violence sometimes. All right? That's the Dana drop. I'm out.
You said get the great. Get the great. Let your silence be your violence. Let your silence be. That's a good one, man. That's a t-shirt. Let your silence be your violence. That's something we gotta grow on that. I gotta grow in that area. Kyrie Sanaz just said, I never cuss nobody out in a professional setting. He just take them to the parking lot.
And we could put that we could put that under these t-shirts.
Right.
Let your silence be your
Let
violence.
Your silence be your violence.
Right.
That's real talk, man. That's real talk. Hey, y'all, thank y'all for tuning into the Donta Show. You just heard the Dana drop. If you witnessed it, you can always watch the replay on Facebook Live or go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Donta Morrison. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. All right. So let's get into tonight's conversation. How many people on the thread right now shop at farmers markets? Either shop at farmers markets, or when you go to the grocery store, you're only buying organic, and you're looking at all the certain sections that's been identified for organic foods in the grocery store. How many of you, would love to have your own home garden, or you actually have a home garden, but you want to better understand how to nurture it and how to make things grow? You know, how many of you live in an apartment or a complex where you don't have a backyard, but you're like, yo, I want to have fresh herbs. I want to be able to grow my own tomatoes and cucumbers and all that kind of stuff. All right. How many of you are on that page? You know, how many of you wish that we had some kind of community garden within urban settings? We can go and have our own row. We can grow our corn and our potatoes and all of our stuff that's for our own home. Okay. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that some of us just do not have a green thumb. I don't have a green thumb. Eddie has a green thumb. I don't have a green thumb. My thumb is black, jet black. My thumb is dehydrated black. It's just whatever I try to plant, it always, like, it dies. It doesn't just wither, it dies. You know, so my boy Chris Petit, who I've known since the 4th grade, I watch him and he has literally transformed his backyard into this market of produce. So I said, bruh, come on the show and let's talk to the people and educate not only the village, but educate me on how I can grow my own. Because if I'm hungry, I don't have 9 months to wait for, a head of cabbage to form. I want to eat tomorrow. I need to know how long this stuff takes to grow. All right. So Donta Show Village, without further ado, help us welcome to the show, Chris Petit. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm happy to be here. Let's give a big welcome, man. I know you gave me a compliment earlier on my lighting and everything. I gotta say, man, you guys, the production value of your show is off the charts, man. You got like props and effects and all kinds of stuff, man. I'm really proud of you, man. It's looking good over there.
Thanks, man. Shout out to Pyro Media Network. Shout out to Pyro. Thanks for that, Chris. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Hey, so let's dig into it. Ha
I see what you did.
You saw that, did? Yeah. So let folks know what your new title is. Let folks know.
Well, I tell you what, I've been on this show before as a pastor, a preacher, an activist,
civil rights activist.
Now, right. And now as a master gardener, man, I feel like Mary J. Blige is gonna come out at any minute now and say I was a lover and a secretary too. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
The fact of the matter is I am all of those things. And I think when you think about it and put it together, preaching, pastoring, being out in the streets socially, and quiet as it's kept, gardening, they're all forms of protest, they're all forms of activism, because they're all ways of taking back the power that belongs to us, and they're all ways of speaking truth to power, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a way to improve and empower our community from within, as opposed to having go without. So all of those things are connected. My journey is pretty much that, like a lot of people, I started getting out in the garden with my grandmother, when I was just knee high. And I was always just, amazed by the things that came out of her garden. I remember when my grandmother went to the store, she'd go down to ABC Market and, but she would never shop for produce, right? I mean, she would shop for meat and some other things, but she never bought vegetables in the store because everything she had and everything she needed was already growing in her backyard. And so on Sunday, afternoons after church, when we got together for Sunday dinner, the fresh tomatoes, the onions, the chow relish, the collard greens, everything that was on the table came from her garden. And that always, made a big impression on me. And so I've been growing since I was a kid, over 10,000 hours in the garden. And up until, recently, I decided to kind of take it to the next level. We're going to get that lighting fixed. To take it to the next level. And I started with just a small, maybe 4-week course in urban gardening. And I got a certificate in that. And I said, there's no reason I can't be a master gardener. Interesting story about that is that in 2017, I actually applied for the Master Gardener program and was accepted. But that was also the same year I decided to run for office here in Compton. So I had to pass it up. And I didn't know when that opportunity would come around again. This year, I was able to again apply, and we're talking about they only accept maybe 60 out of, several hundred people that apply. I happen to be one. So not only did I make it into this exclusive club once, I made it in twice. But this year I was able to complete the course and be certified as a University of California Agricultural and Natural Resources Master Gardener for LA County. And,
Come on,
it's
man.
been one of the biggest things that's happened in my life.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Hey, so I want to hit on this. LaShawn Sanders just typed nothing like a tomato from your garden hits on another level. So I have heard that fresh grown tomatoes taste different than the tomatoes that are in the store. I'm a city kid. I don't have family roots down south that I know of, but I heard that fresh grown stuff, it's a different taste. So let's start with tomatoes, because I've always wanted a tomato garden, but Eddie said I couldn't have one. So the tomato garden, I want to have one because I heard that tomato is not supposed to have that jelly stuff in the middle or something. I don't know. Yeah. Well, so what is the difference between fresh grown fruits and vegetables versus what we get in the store?
Let me tell you something. When somebody tells you that tomato that you grow is exponentially better than that one you get in the store, it's super, super, super big facts, right? The reason is the tomatoes you get in the store, they're not ripe, right? It's like these tomatoes are coming from a farm 3,000 miles away. While they're still green, they throw them on the truck, allow them to ripen in the air. So by the time they get to you, they're red, but they're not sweet, they're not juicy, they don't taste like they've ripened on the vine like they're supposed to, right? And furthermore, this is another little known fact about this, food, this produce that we get in the stores. A lot of it is genetically modified, right? So you'll see some type of, so it's really important to shop for organic stuff if that's important to you. The one thing about the tomatoes, and I was actually talking to someone about this today, is that in order to make the tomatoes more red, to make it a better presentation in the store, they actually take the genetics from fish blood and add it to the genes of the tomato to make the tomato more red, right? So you getting like some real, like, I'm not trying to doubt anybody, but you get into like some really fake stuff.
A fish tomato.
Yeah, so it's really, it's a completely different thing. And again, when you grow your own tomato, this year I grew about 4 or 5 different varieties. I grew a Paul Robeson, an Orange Jazz, several different varieties of tomato. And when I tell you, it tastes better, it's sweeter, it's more flavorful. You cannot beat it, and you will never want another one again. One thing that motivated me to grow it this year was that I'm the only one in my family that likes tomatoes out of me, my wife, and my kids. And so, I kind of like, I'm not going to grow any tomatoes because nobody's going to eat them. But, every time I go to the store, Bristol Farms, even Whole Foods, man, I just kept coming back home with the worst tomatoes I ever tasted in my life. I said, no more. I'm going to grow my own. This year I grew my own. Those Paul Robesons, they were the best tomatoes I've ever had in my life. And then to the store stuff, there's nothing wrong with a green tomato. So I picked some of my tomatoes green this year, dipped them in a little flour and cornmeal, best fried green tomatoes I ever had. But the fact of the matter is, you will never get a better tomato than the one you grow in your own backyard and take care of yourself.
I'm still stuck on the fish blood. I ain't moved since you said that. When you said fish blood, I kind of stopped because I love tomatoes. But right. I mean, now that I know it's fish blood, I'm gonna start tasting fish in my tomatoes. Because you don't know. It's like, oh, but now that I know, of course, I'm assuming this stuff is legal because they do it. But why can't we just what is the purpose of expediting, the fruits and vegetables the way that we do? How come we just cannot run out? Or why don't we allow stuff to be out of season and we just don't have it in the store?
Donta, that's the whole key right there. And when you say about the tomatoes tasting different, that's the key. We have to learn how to eat differently. We've been fed, you develop an appetite for what you fed, right? And so we've been eating this junk for so long, we think that it's good junk, right? And so like when you get an onion right now, it's like the onion, when you were a kid, the onion used to be hot, used to burn your mouth. Now you can eat an onion, man, your breath don't even stink afterwards, right?
Right.
They freeze all of that stuff out of your food. It's like, well, people want an onion that doesn't burn their mouths, and they can go back after, lunch and go back to work and be in somebody's face and it not stink. It's like, right, that's good socially, but nutritionally and based on what the onion is supposed to be, you want an onion that's got a little heat to it. You want an onion that adds some flavor, and the food is just not the same anymore. So the food that's bred now is mostly for presentation in the stores. It's mostly so, again, your breath doesn't stink, or it doesn't stain your clothes, or it appears brighter and redder and more waxy and rosy in the store, but it's not the best that we can do as far as growing or as far as what we put in our body. So there's a big gap there.
It's funny you said that, because I was making my dressing for Thanksgiving, and I'm cutting the onions and celery, and I'm like, why am I not crying? Normally I'm snotting and all kind of stuff. I'm like, then I'm looking at the onion like, is this onion old? Is it bad? Why am I not? That explained a lot. Because I also have always questioned seedless watermelon. How do we have a fruit that has no seeds? Of course, it's easier to eat, but it's like, where's the watermelon seeds? How did this watermelon grow? How does this watermelon reproduce? Right. So,
again, people are too lazy. They don't want to spit seeds out. They don't want to pick the seeds out of the watermelon. Me, I've always just swallowed them anyway. It's not a big deal. Watermelon's not going to grow in your stomach. But again, we have to get used to eating the way that we used to eat, right? So, when onions don't make you cry, it's because, again, they've come up with an onion. It's the oil in the onion that makes you cry. When that oil is exposed to air, it produces tears. So, somebody says, well, we want onions that don't make us cry. So they breathe the oil out of the onions, but they also breathe the flavor and the good stuff out of the onion too. So you got an onion that don't make you cry, but you got an onion that don't taste like anything either. And so, again, when I talk about getting back to some of the old ways of doing things, we got to go back to eating fruit in season. Watermelon tastes good in December. I know we all want a watermelon in December, but this is not the time for watermelon, right? And then it doesn't give you anything to look forward to in the summer. And the watermelon you get now, again, in terms of the environment, it's not as good. Why? Because they have to pick it younger, because it's coming from South America or Australia. It's got to make a long trip. You're using up fuel, greenhouse gases, making a bigger carbon footprint. Man, it just wrecks the environment in more ways than one. And so when I say that, getting back to the earth, it's a real thing. We got to get back to the way things used to be and the way our, grandparents and great grandparents used to do it. Not only is it better for the environment, but it's also better for our health and our communities. Because when you look at the environmental violence that takes place, the toxic waste dumps, the heavy metals in the soil, most of those are in Black and Latino neighborhoods that belong to people of color. So we've got to address this in a lot of different ways. But the first things that we can do to take back control of that is to begin to grow our own food and eat food in season, and making sure that food is what it's supposed to be.
Now, let me ask. I'll ask the broader question. Mm-hmm. What state are you in? I ain't gonna say city. I'll say state, because I don't want nobody pulling up on you. What state are you in, and how important is it, the climate and the time of seasoning, if you're gardening out? I don't know if you're gardening outside or are you gardening inside, but how does that play in your gardening?
Oh, sure. It plays a large role, and I'm blessed to be right here in Southern California. And the thing about Southern California is we have what we call a Mediterranean climate. So that means that it's generally warm to hot, and the winters they tend to be dry and warm. So we don't get that much rain, but the temperature is such that we can grow most things almost year round. So when it's too cold, and they're worried about like what they call the first freeze or the last freeze, 32-degree temperatures in other parts of the country, we don't worry about that in California. We generally don't have a freeze, and a freeze is not just 30 degrees. It means below freezing in temperature, and when the depth of the ground freezes to a certain point. We never have to worry about that in California. Generally, you can germinate and grow seeds when the soil temperature is over 60 degrees, and most of the time our soil temperature is over 60 degrees even at night. So there's so many things we can grow here almost year round. And it just makes it a much better place, to be a gardener. And I garden outdoors. I usually start my seeds indoors in a warm place, like in my garage. I have lights that imitate daylight, so the seeds get the proper light. But generally, you can grow anything outdoors. almost all year in Southern California, and it's a big advantage, and we should take advantage of that for all those who are listening that are here.
Right. Chris, one quick question. I don't know if you actually covered it or said it. Is the organic food in the supermarkets really organic?
That's a tough question. Generally, I'm going to say no, because organic can almost be whatever you want it to be, right? And the laws, or it's not even laws, it's like just policies and standards for organic food, they tend to vary a lot. And to be honest with you, you'll never know if your food is 100% organic or not, because they you might have a seed that's not genetically modified, but then they're putting all different types of chemical and artificial fertilizers on it. So that's not organic to me, right? When I grow in my garden, no chemicals, no pesticides. I can pick anything in my garden and eat it right off of the vine or the stem, right? I don't even have to wash it, because I know exactly what's on it. Okay. Organic food is not that way. And organic, it's not botanically and horticulturally, it's not a thing. It's like a political and legal designation, but it's not even a real thing, right? So you can have something labeled organic, and it could be full of pesticides, it could be full of wastewater, it could be full of a lot of different things. And so if you trust your grower, and your grower can tell you what's in that food, and they say it's organic, you're more likely to be able to trust them. But anything that's marked organic in the store, even if it comes from Whole Foods or Mother's or any place like that, you really don't know. Unless you're growing it in your own backyard, you really don't know what's in that food, whether it's marked organic or not.
Just like bottled water, it still tastes like water hose water to me.
It's filtered water,
yeah. That's all. It tastes
like that good old street water to me.
So, Chris, when it comes to gardening, I know that in California we don't really have seasons, but are there seasons for certain fruits and vegetables? Because I don't want to try to plant a certain fruit or vegetable in December and then it dies. I'm discouraged, and you're like, well, Donta, you planted in the wrong season. So when it comes, because I'm still back. Why is there always availability of everything in the grocery store, even when it's out of season? So let's talk about seasons. So what are some seasonal things that people should know? Like right now, what can we grow right now in the winter outside of California?
Right now is the time for what they call cole crops, and that's COLE, and that means crops that are basically leafy greens, right? So collards, mustards, kale, bok choy, broccoli. You can still grow peas and anything that'll grow in cool weather. And so those are the crops that are growing cool, with your lettuces and things like that. Right now is not the time to plant watermelon, not the time to plant cucumber. It's too cold, right? They need heat and warm weather to grow. So right now you want to grow your leafy greens, kale, bok choy, chard, peas, leeks, onions, stuff like that. In the springtime, that's when you branch out a little more. You can grow beets, you can start to grow beans, just about anything, or any vegetable that transitions from cool weather to the warmer weather. In summer, everything's good, right? Anything that can take a little heat, everything with watermelons, your summer fruits will start coming off of your tree, peaches, plums, apricots, things like that. And so, there is a season for it. But right now you want to grow things that are good in cool weather: leafy greens, lettuce, collards, kale, peas, leeks, lettuce, chard, things like that.
So right now, literally right now, if I go outside my backyard tomorrow, I can start planting my collard greens, my turnips, my mustard greens, that stuff right now.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you probably should have started a month ago. Now, this is collard right here, right? So I started this maybe a little less than a month ago, but this is the size of it. So it's about, maybe 5 inches tall right now. And so the time to start would have been a month ago. But again, it's not too late, because again, with the seasons in California, this type of weather will last through early March or April. So you're still good. But what you have to understand is, like, the later you grow it, the less time you'll have to, like I said, once it starts getting hot, these greens will start to die back a little bit. Like I said, you start as early as possible, so you have more time not only to grow, but if you have any problems with pests or things that go wrong in your garden, you'll have time to fix it. so that you'll be able to get a full harvest. The other thing that I'm growing right now, this is bok choy. That's about, I guess the same, about 4 weeks old, right? So in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to pull this out, chop it up, put it in my food and everything. It's you know, and that's how the kind of how the seasons work. So yeah, the best thing to do is always to start early. My grandmother taught me something, and I misunderstood her. You know, she always taught me to have everything in the ground by Good Friday. And the thing I misunderstood about that was that, you know how it is when they tell you, well, the deadline is, you know, Monday night at midnight. You don't turn it in at Monday at 2:00. You turn it in at Monday night at midnight.
Right.
So grandma said have it in the ground by Good Friday. I'm like, okay, on Good Friday, I'm planning everything. But that's too late. I should have started back then. And then by the time Good Friday comes, then that's when you say no more. Right. So again, the earlier the better when you start like that.
But see, here's my thing. You talk about planting leafy greens. Now we all know that when you get a bunch of collard greens, they shrink. So it's like, how do you grow enough where you can at least have a decent pot of greens?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what's the turnover rate for when you're growing this stuff? Because like my thing is, I'm growing the greens, you know, 2 months later, I got a nice bushel. Once I pull the bushel, now I got nothing. You know, so how does the sustainability work in this process?
Yeah, you got it. You need some redundancy in your garden, right? So don't just plant like one tree collard. Plant, you know, maybe 3 or 4 if you can. And the goal is to have what they call successive planting and a successive harvest, right? So you're going to start some seeds at the beginning of this month, December. You're going to watch your seeds sprout and grow. Once they get off to a good start, then you start another pan of seeds, right? So you're going to be planting basically every 2 weeks. And that way you won't just harvest everything at one time. You harvest over the whole season. So when you plant, you know, 2 or 3 collard plants, you're going to be able to, you know, cut one. That's your dinner for that Sunday. Next week, the other one is ready. Next week, the other one is ready. What you do with the first one too, after you cut it, because collard is again, a leafy green. It accepts a lot of good nitrogen, which is basically manure, fertilizer, fish emulsion. You want to just, you know, really fertilize it really well, water it really well, and hopefully, you know, if you get a good rain, those collards are going to pop back in another, you know, 2 to 3 weeks. You know, so you will have, you know, a successive plan. You will have enough to sustain you through an entire season.
I'm kind of like Donta. I mean, everything you saying sounds great. When I was in college, I took a minor class in horticulture. I took like maybe 2 or 3 classes of horticulture, and I used to go home and plant stuff, and 2 or 3 days later was like having a fish. The fish was dead, and I mean, like, I fed the fish. Right. Why did he die? So I'm like, you would plant things, you'd be like, okay, cool, projects or whatever the case may be, and just watching. Like, man, why is my stuff not growing? I think I just was more into my music. I was just like, man, I'll go ahead and go shopping.
That could be. You know, the garden is something like anything else. You got to pay attention to it. You got to walk through your garden every day. I mean, you got to pick the bugs off by hand. You got to water it. You got to figure out what it needs. You know, I mean, it's keep in mind, and this is one of the most important things about gardening. When you're taking care of a plant, you're taking care of a living thing. Right. So it's no different than taking care of a puppy or a fish or whatever you have. You're taking care of a living thing. So you have to visit with it every day. You might even want to talk with your plants every day.
You just took the words out of my dude. I used to go in the kitchen and my mom would be up every morning. I'd be like, who the hell is she talking to? Because I know, before going to school, I was like, my brothers and I are just getting up. She's not on the phone because there wasn't no cell phones back then. I'm like, who the hell is she talking to? And she's in there watering her plants. And literally, they were like balled up. Right. And when she started talking to them, and while she's watering them and talking to them, they were opening up as she was talking to them. I'm like, Ma, you crazy? You talking to your plants? She's like, no, you got to talk to them. You got to talk to them. They listen to me. They listen to me. See, watch. And she, like I said, she poured the water and was like, hey, good morning. Good morning. Right. And the plant just opened up. Like, I was like, wow.
Right. And I don't have any science to back that, but I'm telling you what, your plant is a living thing. It responds to your energy. And plants are like people. I got plants that don't like to be next to each other, right? And they'll let you know, hey, collard greens, we don't like the kale. We don't want to be next to the kale. They will let you know what they like and what they don't like. They'll let you know if they're getting too much sun or not enough sun. They talk to you, right? They literally talk to you. They tell you, what they're going through. They tell you when they're stressed out, when they need water, when they need fertilizer or any other type of food. They really respond to energy because they are living things just like we are. And again, when I talk about, getting back to ourselves and getting back to the earth, we got to learn how to be connected with other living things, right? And in this case, it just happened to the plant.
Because I would go in there thinking the plant was dead because it was all balled up. And then
Right.
the next thing you know, it's like, hey, I'm like, Mom, what did you do? My mom was a witch.
You know what? And that's the thing about this energy, I think now this is a scientific theory that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply changes form or is transferred from one place to the next. And it's the same thing with your plants. Even when you eat your plants, the energy from that plant is going into your body.
Right.
That energy feeds your body, allows you to go to work, do everything that you have to do. That energy is a living thing, right? So plants respond to our energy, and we should respond to the energy of plants and be very conscious of that all the time.
Right.
And again, it includes talking to them, taking care of them, and caring for them as living things.
Right.
And I appreciate what Joseph Wallace said when I had talked about just the bounty that you may or may not get when you grow your own vegetables. And he talked about, because we do a lot of food wasting, and I think we're gluttons. We're gluttons.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that if we start farming for ourselves and getting our own, it's like, look, don't you waste that tomato. That tomato took, X amount of time to grow, and you done pulled 5 of them for one salad for yourself.
Right.
So I think it also can be a good way to just modify our intake of food and whatnot. But Chris, I also want to get your advice on, for people that like live in apartments or may not have a garden outside, how productive can they be when it comes to growing? Like, do they need to put the plants, in a window with a lot of sunlight? I mean, how do they do this just in an apartment?
Right. Well, and you touched on something with what you just said too about food waste. That's one of the things that's kind of abhorrent about this country, is that we grow more food than we can consume, and we throw away more food than we eat, right? And so again, when you talk about energy, it's like, even if you don't eat the food, you can use it for compost, you can use it for fertilizer, you can use it to feed animals. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. So food waste is a big thing. As a new gardener, what I would advise is two things. Number one, grow something that's basically easy for you, right? So if you are not going to be in the garden every day, you might want to get a plant or grow something that maybe kind of what they call thrives on neglect, right? So, you got like fig trees and certain trees and plants that you don't have to care for that much. The second most important thing when you're growing something is to grow what you want to eat, right? If you know you don't like eggplants, why are you growing eggplants? Why are you growing squash? Why are you growing all this stuff? It makes no sense. And I've been guilty of that too, because as a grower, I just want to grow everything. I want to see if I can grow it,
right.
Everything from college to cannabis, I just want to see if it's going to come up. That's what it is.
I like that last part.
But yeah, it is important. So I would advise those two things: grow what you can care for, grow what you're going to eat. But yes, you can grow, there's a specialty in gardening called container gardening. So you can grow in something as small as a 12-inch pot. And as long as you have some outdoors, usually a south-facing window or space that gets the most sun is ideal. But even if you can put it in a place where you can get reflected light. And again, if you're growing a cold crop, like collard greens, they don't need as much light. They'll take that reflected light, and transfer that energy. The entire process of how the plant takes that energy and transfer. Now, we learned it as what do they call it? When the chlorophyll and the green stuff. I'm a master gardener, and I can't even think of what it is. Photosynthesis. My teacher wife.
That's what I was like. Wait, I thought that's what you was talking about. I'm like,
right. But there is another process that goes along with that, and it involves the water, coming into the plant and the water coming out of the plant. Is called evapotranspiration, right? So you got a lot of processes taking place. And again, a south-facing, window with a lot of sun is ideal, but you can grow things anywhere as long as you have some place to put a pot, a 12-inch pot, which is good enough for peas, cucumbers, beans, radishes, any type of small vegetable. If you have that amount of space, you can grow anything.
It's
What's
funny you
the
said those
turnaround
back to
time?
back. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Danny. Go ahead.
No, I said it's funny he said that back to back. If you got a pot and some peas, you got a pot to piss in.
Right.
You can grow.
Chris, what's the turnaround time for vegetables? I know a lot of us can be a tad bit impatient, but how long we gotta wait for this cucumber to ripen and whatnot?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's not instant, and depending on what it is, people ask that a lot of times. The thing that's the fastest to grow from seed to harvest is radish, right? You could have radishes and when I say quick, it's relatively quick, right? So you could plant a radish seed, and you will have a full radish ready to eat in anywhere from 10 to 20 days. That's the fastest.
Okay.
The alternative to that, if you don't want to grow from seed, you find a good nursery, or a good hardware store, wherever you want to buy, and you buy seedlings, right? So these are plants that are already started, like what I have here. You put those in the ground, you shorten the time. So something like a collard green, that's like a 60-day crop. So that's 2 months, right? But if you grow it at the stage that I have it here, well, you'd be ready to eat it maybe in 4 weeks instead of 8 weeks, right? So there are different things that you can do to kind of offset that. But things like radish, bok choy, wow, I think that's pretty. Those are the fastest growing ones. Cucumbers, it's going to take anywhere from 60 to 70 days, maybe 75 days sometimes. Squash grows pretty fast. The thing about cucumbers that are advantageous if you want to grow those is that cucumbers can be picked at almost any stage, right? So you don't have to wait till it gets, 6 to 8 inches long. You can pick a young cucumber if you want to make pickles, and it'll have, just as good a flavor as if you picked it at a later stage. But basically radishes, some lettuces and greens, and things like bok choy, those are the things that are going to grow the fastest.
And did you talk about artificial light?
Yeah, I mentioned that. If you're growing indoors, you can get, and again, it depends on the strength, but you can get like a 100-watt natural daylight bulb. That'll help your plants. Usually you're going to need something stronger, like a 300-watt. And so it does take a lot of energy, to grow plants indoors. And nothing is better than natural sunlight, but it is possible to do it indoors, in your garage. And again, I know I mentioned, cannabis a little earlier. A lot of people do that and grow that indoors, but it takes a tremendous amount of water, electricity, and light. So again, you have to weigh that against, your impact on the environment.
And then another question: how long does cabbage take? Green, cabbage, a nice green head of cabbage.
Yeah, depending on what stage you get it. If you get it as a seedling in a nursery, you could have cabbage within 35 to 40 days. If you start from seed, cabbage again is another, let's say 45 to 60-day crop. And again, depends on what stage you want it at. And you can even let it grow longer than that, or you could pick it earlier. But again, you have to realize that it's going to affect the taste and size of your of what you're growing.
Question, another one.
Okay.
I've always wondered, how do you make pickles? I know it comes from a cucumber, but how long does it have to sit in the whatever it is? Because you don't sit a cucumber in pickle juice.
Vinegar.
So how long does it take?
Vinegar.
You're not the horticulture. You're not the horticulturist here, Donta.
Making a pickle is horticulture. That's just good thing.
That might be it.
You drop that pig foot, you drop that egg, pickle, you put that in some pickle, and you let it sit. Then you gotta pick a pig foot, pickle egg, you got a pickle. You put that in some vinegar, you let it just sit there.
Right. And then you bite into that thing and you just kill.
That's basically true. I've made my own pickles before, so there are a lot of different cucumber varieties, and they have one that's called a Boston pickling cucumber.
Okay.
And I actually have other types that like this Sumter pickle. It's a pickling cucumber, so they only get about 4 inches long. You can put them in a jar, but basically it is just a mixture of vinegar and spices, You pour over those pickles, and there are at least two ways to make them. One way is what they call refrigerator pickles. So you're going to pour that hot vinegar over, your jar of pickles, put it in the refrigerator, and basically anywhere from the next day to a week later, you're going to have a store quality pickle, right? That's the easy way to do it. The other way to do it is to do a full canning of the pickle. So you do the same thing with the vinegar, but you seal the jar, just like, maybe some of our grandmothers have preserves and things in the cabinet. You do that, you seal it up, and you let that sit. And again, it absorbs the spices and, the vinegar and all that kind of stuff. And, in a short amount of time, you have a pickle. But generally, if I make pickles, whether it's pickled cucumbers or pickled onions, I want to let it sit in the refrigerator for about a week, and you can have a pretty good pickle.
Now, are pickles good for you?
Oh, absolutely. Cucumbers are great. They're vitamin A, beta carotene, very nutritious. And they make your house smell good.
I know the cucumbers are, but when you add everything to it to make it a pickle,
Hey, vinegar is made from apples. It's a fermentation of apples.
Right, okay.
Salt, maybe pepper, cayenne pepper. You can add anything you want to. You can make it a hot pickle. You can make it a dill pickle.
Gotcha.
So again, if this is dill that you've grown in your garden or basil or sage, whatever you add to it, it's as healthy as anything.
Okay.
Gotcha. Just don't be putting Jolly Ranchers and stuff in it.
I'm just saying. Peppermint, Jolly Rancher. I mean,
Tootsie Pops and stuff.
That Kool-Aid packet put over the top. You know how we did.
Put the Kool-Aid in it, It can be as healthy as you want it to be.
Question. So Mila asked, I always heard that gardens attract rodents, so I never started one. Is that true?
It can be true. The thing is, it's going to attract a variety of different pests, right? So you have to figure out how you're going to deal with it. If you plant in the ground, yeah, sometimes you're going to have a problem with rodents. And here's the thing, let's not get it twisted. Anything can attract rodents, right? Your trash outside can attract rodents. What you have to understand and accept is that rodents are always around. You just got to figure out how to keep them away from the things that you love, right?
Right.
So when somebody sees like a mouse or a rat somewhere, it's like, oh no, they must be nasty. They're not nasty. The rat just found a way in. You know what I'm saying? So again, when you think about outside, these possums, raccoons, rats, mice, they're around everywhere. But you just got to figure out how to keep them out of your garden. If you want to set a trap, fine. If you want to poison them, fine. I don't recommend that, but that's fine too. If you want to,
shoot them.
You can shoot them. You can sit up there with your laser and your air gun and shoot them. You can put barriers around your garden. You can get a good dog or a cat. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But again, like if you have an avocado tree or a fruit tree, the easiest way to keep pests away is to pick it up. Don't let the fruit sit on the ground. Right, don't let it rot. Clean up your yard. Because rodents they like dog poop too, and a lot of people don't clean up their dog poop. So you can have that problem under any circumstances. I don't think that should let anybody stop them from having a garden. You just got to be careful. You got to pay attention to it like anything else.
I agree. In my backyard, we have 2 lemon trees, an orange tree, and an apple tree. And in the summertime, when I tell you Ben and his brothers will be back there wearing some of that fruit out, but like you said, then it hits the ground and it's completely hollowed out because they have just literally ate all the orange. I'm like, yo, that was a good orange, man. Go on somewhere. But I mean, it's a risk you take. When it's food. Yeah, it's food. My last question: is there a difference between dirt and soil? Because what are we planting this stuff in? Because I can go get a pile of dirt and put some seedlings in and nothing happens. So can you let the people know what is considered some good soil for planting your vegetables and fruits?
That's a word right there.
You know what? That'll preach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That is a really, really good question because the most important determinant of the success of your garden is going to be your soil, right? So there's 3 different types of soil. You have sand, clay, and loam. Sand is just like what it sounds like, very loose soil. You water it, the water will go right through it. It's good for plants because it provides good drainage, but you have to water it more often because it's so porous. The next being clay. Clay is that thick, muddy type of dirt. Now you can pour water on it. It's not going to like sink in. It's going to stay on top. So the clay is going to hold water a little bit better, but it's also, might hold so much water that it rots the roots, right? So having it too much sand, too much clay is not a good thing. The soil that's in between that is called loam, and it's a mixture of sand, clay, and other, natural organic materials, dead leaves, grass, and things like that. And that's the best mixture of what we call soil to grow your plants in. But yeah, if you talk about the difference between dirt and soil, all of these things are just a medium, right? So all of these things are just a place where the seed gets its nutrients from. So you could have seeds, popping up from, or plants popping up in the middle of concrete. So technically there is a difference between dirt and soil, but soil generally only refers to something that's going to aid the success of the plant. Dirt is kind of inconsequential. And then again, the thing about dirt, and when we talk about environmental violence, dirt, just like on the ground, it might have what they call trace elements in it. So, if you're trying to grow food on something that used to be like a metal factory or something like that, you might have heavy metals, platinum and aluminum in there that is not good. And that kind of stuff gets into your food and makes people sick, right? So generally you want to scrape down that first 3 to 4 inches of soil, make sure there's no trace elements in there, no heavy metals. And then that's again becomes the best medium in which to grow food.
Got it. All right, Chris, man, you drop knowledge on top of knowledge on top of knowledge. So listen, are you available for Q&A from people that want to hit you up and all that kind of stuff? You got a YouTube show coming about garden, the Black Gardener. I mean, what's the plan? Let folks know what's going on with you.
I'd love to do all that. The best way to see what I'm doing, and I'll try to update it, as much as I can, is as you can see from my shirt, it's Yard Nerd. And how we got that name was, I could be sitting there completely quiet reading a book. Somebody asked me about plants. I brighten up. I start talking about it. Somebody did that one day, and my daughter just looked at me and she said, "You're really a nerd about this stuff." I was a little hot that she called me a nerd, but at the same time, I was like, she's right though. So that became the name of my organization, my company, what I call myself, the Yard Nerd. So the best way to reach me and see what type of things I'm doing is to go to _Yard Nerd on Instagram. And, I have a page there where you can kind of see what I'm doing, and I promise to update it and show you more things that I'm doing. But that's the best way to find out about me.
Okay.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, everybody. Give it up for Chris Petit. Go out there, get you some good soil, get you some seedlings, and let's try to start eating natural. Remember, when you go to the grocery store, organic is not always organic. Eat stuff in season. If it don't have no seeds, question it. There's a problem.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, Chris, we appreciate you, man. Hey, have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that kind of good stuff. And be blessed, bro. Be blessed.
Thank you. God bless you. Best of luck to y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
It's all you, Dana.
Hey, we're almost done. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight to the Donta Show. But before you go, there's a little thing that we would like to do for you ladies. And some of you gentlemen. You have to spread love.
Instead of spreading lies.
You have to spread love, baby.
Instead of spreading lies.
Girl, don't spread no lies. Don't spread them, girl. All right, baby. No, but for real, thank y'all guys for tuning in tonight. We love you guys. Hey, remember to reach out to someone, whether you think they're doing good. Remember, suicide and depression is real during this time of season. So a simple hi and a simple text of hello goes a long way. Again, even if you think they're doing well, reach out, say hi, say I'm just checking on you. Again, somebody may just needs to hear your voice or read your text, and that'll stop them from getting ready to do something that can potentially harm them. All right? Remember that. We love you guys, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it.
Boom. And y'all know what I do. I am Donta Morrison, the host of The Donta Show. But not just the host of The Donta Show, I'm an author of 2 books. The first one is called The End of the Rainbow, which chronicles my life in my 20s and tells you about all the stuff that I went through when I was out there just sinning. Followed by the sequel, Yesterday Clarified, which pretty much wraps up the first book into a nice, tidy little bow. All right? You can get both books on Amazon.com or visiting my website, DontaMorrison.com, where you will see more about me. I'm not just a host. I'm not just an author. I'm a community change agent that educates everybody about safer sex, HIV, STDs, and all kind of stuff. I love being an advocate because it allows me to connect with everybody on a much deeper and personal level. So please visit my website and learn more about me. But most importantly, go to YouTube, youtube.com/Donta Morrison, and subscribe to The Donta Show. If you have not done so yet, why?
Why?
That's all I want to know. Why have you not subscribed to The Donta Show yet? All right. So please make sure to subscribe. Just click subscribe. It'll cost you absolutely nothing. After you do, make sure to order your very own The Donta Show t-shirt. Dana has on one right now. You can get your Donta Show t-shirt by inboxing me on Facebook. I will get your size. I will get your coin, your address, and I will mail it out to you. I ain't got a lot left, but I got some left. If you want a t-shirt, just hit me up. Most importantly, check out PyroMediaNetwork.com. PyroMediaNetwork.com is the machine behind The Donta Show and so many other phenomenal shows that occur on Facebook Live and YouTube. If you are interested in having a show like The Donta Show, or even better, think bigger, go next level.
Yeah.
Reach out to Pyro Media Network and you can get a free consultation by the man, the myth, the legend, Kwame Corbett, and he will navigate you, make your show pop, shine, and great. He also designs websites and does all kind of other phenomenal things. So check out PyroMediaNetwork.com and someone from the team will get with you. If you want to be a guest on The Donta Show, just simply send an email to info@pyromedianetwork.com and say, yo, what it do? I want to be on The Donta Show. And they will work with you. They'll talk with you and they'll see if your topic fits our demographic, fits our audience, and it makes sense. If it doesn't, trust me, Marisol will tell you no. Marisol is a beast. All right, y'all. So with that being said, make sure to tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time because we have another great show in store for you. So tomorrow night will be part 2 of our COVID Conversations. COVID Conversations Part 2. As many of you know, the vaccine released today. It is official. The COVID vaccine is out there, and you all know that I'm part of a COVID Community Advisory Board that's helping out with the AstraZeneca clinical trials. So I have Dr. Rafi Landovitz coming on tomorrow to talk about the COVID vaccines and to do another Q&A. All right, it's going to be a very informative Q&A. Again, it is not to make anybody take the vaccine, but it's to allow you to make healthy decisions that's going to make sense for yourself. All right. So come back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to get informed, to get knowledge, and to ask questions because we're going to have healthy, mature dialogue about the COVID vaccine. I believe in the village. Yes, I do. So we will see y'all tomorrow. So we love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Please remember to stay safe, protect yourself, socially distance, and all that good stuff. So until tomorrow night, take care, and we love y'all. Peace out.
Peace.